Qyteti Nju Jork në shtetin e New Yorkut është qyteti më i populluar në Shtetet e Bashkuara të Amerikës, me një popullsi prej mbi 8 milion banorësh në një hapësirë prej vetëm 784 km2. Administrata publike në qytetin e New Yorkut është e përbërë nga më shumë se 300.000 zyrtar publik. Në kuadër të qytetit të New Yorkut ekziston Departamenti i Hetimeve i themeluar qysh në vitin 1873 si një ndër agjencitë ligjzbatuese më të vjetra në tërë Shtetet e Bashkuara të Amerikës. Departamenti i Hetimeve ka jurisdiksion dhe autoritet të gjerë në hetimin e keqpërdorimeve eventuale në mbi 45 agjenci apo institucione publike që operojnë në qytetin e New Yorkut.
So we're fortunate that we have a huge mandate, a really broad mandate, that DOI has jurisdiction over corruption, waste, fraud, abuse of authority in every city agency, every city employee, which in New York City is over 300,000 employees, and as well as every city contract. So what that means is that we can investigate both criminal activity by individuals or elected officials or agencies.
Po ashtu, ligjet e qytetit të New Yorkut i obligojnë zyrtarët publik që në çdo rast kur hasin apo dyshojnë afera korruptive të raportojnë këto dukuri tek Departamenti i Hetimeve. Në vitin 2012, qyteti i New Yorkut ka avancuar legjislacionin në fushën e mbrojtjes së sinjalizuesve, duke i ofruar mbrojtje edhe më të madhe ligjore dhe institucionale.
So city employees are actually required to affirmatively report to DOI corruption that they are aware of. And that's very unusual also, I think, that it is not only that if we approach you and say, hey, sir, we would like to interview you, that you have to cooperate and be truthful, but really under city law, you have an affirmative obligation to call us. And in fact, just today, we had an arrest this morning related to an example of that, where a Department of Buildings inspector was out on a construction site that had been reported by a member of the public, investigating an allegation of construction work that was happening without a permit. The contractor on the site offered the inspector a bribe to not write a violation for unpermitted work, and the inspector immediately left, placed a call to us at DOI and said, I've just been offered a bribe and I'm reporting it. And our investigators responded, wired up the inspector as I am, and sent him back to take the bribe, to pretend to take the bribe. And we were able to make an arrest out of that situation just today. So although on a small scale, I think that's really an example of how not only by law, but also hopefully by culture, that we encourage city employees to affirmatively report corruption to us, and that happens every day.
Mbrojtja e sinjalizuesve luan rol të rëndësishëm në ekspozimin dhe raportimin e korrupsionit.
So New York City has very robust whistleblower protections. They are protected from any kind of retaliation in their job. So, and in fact, what can happen if you believe you've been retaliated against is that the city can essentially force your employer to rescind any retaliatory action, replace you in your position, or restore, essentially restore you to the position you would have been in had you not been a whistleblower. In New York City government, we have a robust culture of reporting and people feeling confident that if they report wrongdoing, it'll be investigated fairly and independently, and they'll be protected against retaliation.
Shqiptimi i dënimeve me burgim efektiv ndaj personave të dënuar jo çdo herë arrin qëllimin e dënimit ndaj kryesit të veprës penale. Shtetet bashkohore me qëllim të shkatërimit të rrjeteve kriminale, rëndësi i kushtojnë sidomos konfiskimit të pasurisë së fituar përmes aktiviteteve kriminale dhe kompensimit të viktimave të krimit.
In the United States, both in the state criminal system and the federal criminal system, there's really three different kinds of financial penalties. So there's a fine, which is a sort of pure penalty. You, sir, are convicted of this crime, and as part of your punishment, you have to pay a fine. And that number can be unrelated to the amount of money that is part of the crime. It's purely a punitive punishment measure. There's restitution, which is a kind of financial penalty that is about giving money back to the victims. So if you steal from identified victims, whether that's the city or your workers in the case of like a prevailing wage case, the court can order restitution, which means you and any of your assets or anything can be taken to give the money that you stole or that you took wrongfully back to your victims. And then a third kind of financial penalty is called forfeiture. And forfeiture is about retrieving ill-gotten gains. So if you, the wrongdoer, made money from your criminal activity, forfeiture is about sucking back that money so that you don't profit from criminal activity.